Okay, here we want to find a quadratic function f whose graph matches the one in the figure. So if we need to take a look at the figure, you can actually click this and see it a little bit better so you can see the points on the graph. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and then open this up. So we want to find a quadratic function. So the first thing we need to do is, what is the quadratic function that they're referring to? Okay, so the quadratic function that they're referring to is the following. Okay, we want to find f of x, which is equal to a leading coefficient of a times x minus h squared plus k. All right, so the first thing we need to do is identify the vertex. So over here, I'm going to split this in half here. Okay, so what I mean by that is the first thing that we need to do on this side is identify what is the vertex. And remember, the vertex is represented by the coordinates h, k. Well, remember that this is the vertex here, and you can see that this represents the vertex. And so you can see here that h is -2 and k is 5. So, therefore, we know that the vertex for h and k is -2 and then 5. So again, I'm going to write this here. H is -2 and k is 5. Okay, now we need to determine what is the value of a, because we want to be able to determine what is this function. So we have to figure out what is a. Okay, so in order to find a, we are given the fact that h is equal to -2. We're also given the fact that k is equal to 5. But then we need to know other points. We have another point here which represents the y-intercept. So if you notice here, we can see that x represents 0 and 1 is the output. Remember, that's y, which is the same thing as f of x, which is equal to 1. So we know that x is equal to 0, and we know that f of x is equal to 1. Now, in order to solve for a, what we need to do is we need to plug it into this function, f of x, which is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. So, what do we know about f of x? Well, we know that f of x is equal to 1 equals a. What do we know about x? We know that x is equal to 0 minus, what do we know about h? H is equal to, so that's in parentheses, -2 squared plus, what is k? Well, k is 5. Now, this is going to allow us to be able to solve for a, but we have to make sure that we consider order of operations. So the next step is we got 1, which is equal to a. This becomes 0. A minus and -2 is 0 plus 2 squared plus 5. So this becomes 1, which is equal to a, which is 0 plus 2, which is 2 squared plus 5. Okay, now what is 2 squared? Well, 2 squared is 4, so that becomes 4 times a plus 5. And now we need to solve for a. So we're going to subtract 5 to both sides. And we get 1 minus 5, which is -4, which is equal to 4a. And then we're going to divide both sides by 4. So therefore, a is going to equal -1. Okay, so now in step number 2 over here, we know that a is equal to -1. We know that h is equal to -2. And we know that k is equal to 5. And now we're going to substitute all of those values into this function. So we're going to get f of x, which is equal to -1 times x minus a -2 squared plus 5. And then the last thing we want to do is then simplify that sign here in the middle. So we're going to get f of x, which is equal to negative 1 times x plus 2 squared plus 5. Now let's go ahead and put that answer in to make sure that we are correct. So this is what our answer is. We have negative 1 times x plus 2 squared plus 5. Let's check our answer, and there is our result.